And we're live. Hey everyone, I'm Marco. I'm one of the code mentors here at the FireHoseProject, and I want to run you guys through this info session and tell you everything you need to know about our full stack web development program here at the FireHoseProject. So what are we going to cover, right? Let's jump in and look at the big overview. So first of all, I want to go through our curriculum, right? That's the core curriculum, everything you learn, talk a little bit about all the techniques you're learning, all the technologies you're learning, how we're splitting things up for entrepreneurs and people who are looking for a job, what the group project is, what kind of applications you're building, what kind of skills you're getting out of it. I'm going to talk about that for the first maybe 5-6 minutes. Then I'm going to switch it up and I want to talk a little bit about the support system. So the things like mentorship sessions, office hours, how our Q&A forum works, those types of things. And then last, I want to answer a question that I usually get, which is like, so what besides like having my own application launched or landing a job as a web developer on a technical team, what can I really do? What kind of skills do I have? So I want to give you a straightforward, honest answer of what you can do, what kind of skills you really have at the end of the program. So let's jump straight in and go into the core curriculum and talk about that. Before that, if you guys have any questions, right, you guys all have my email address. Either email me or go on the Google Plus page and put questions into the little text box there, and I'm going to try to answer all of them. I already received a whole bunch of questions, which is awesome, so I'm going to answer them at the end of the session. So definitely feel free to ask your questions and put them in as soon as they come up, so I can all pick them up later down the line. Okay, core curriculum. Let's jump in, right? So first of all, we have usually all of our students go through pre-work, which is about 2 weeks long, and then we have you guys go through 12 weeks of the core curriculum, all right? So we're looking at a 14-week-long program. Pre-work, I can talk about that more a little later, but it's basically teaching you the fundamentals of HTML and CSS, building a simple splash page, hosting that on a server, and then also learning how to write really good Ruby code to build your first Ruby scripts. And actually what the pre-work teaches you is something that screens out a lot of people who apply for web application jobs in the first screener already. So you've already been able to clear that first hurdle when you go through pre-work. And for entrepreneurs, it's really important knowing how to write good Ruby code to build more advanced web applications down the line. That's the pre-work. Once you go through pre-work and you submit all your coding challenges and we give you the thumbs up, there's a lot of people actually helping students in the pre-work. Then we accept you into the core program, right? So this is a two-way street. Guys, learn how to code, write the first Ruby scripts, build a splash page, host it on a helps us to really see, do you have what it takes to get to that level, right? Can we accept you in the core program? We're pretty selective on who we let in, so give it your best shot in the pre-work, right? Again, if you want to apply for pre-work, I know a lot of you guys are already in the pre-work. You can go to theFirehoseProject.com, top nav, there's a coding bootcamp pre-work link, that's the one. Click on that and you can fill out your application. Now, what happens when you're in the core program? First 10 hours, we're going to give you a 360-degree view over the Rails framework, right? So using the Ruby programming language and using the Rails framework to build a fully functional web application and launch it within 10 hours. What we're going to build is something fairly simple, which is basically we storing quotes in a database and randomly pulling them out and displaying it on the page. That's something that we can build fairly fast. We wrap that up into a mobile-first design, make it look good, put an about page onto it, and ship it live onto the server. Why are we doing that so fast? Is because you get to touch everything that is important, right? First line or more Ruby already done that in the pre-work. You'll learn how to you're using your server and a few other tools to make all of that happen, right? You're working with the command line and all of that in the first 10 hours as that deep dive. And then not only are you going to push something live, but you can share with your friends and your family, and they can give you feedback. They can add quotes to your application. And then you actually, in that driver's seat as a developer, be like, oh, wow, I just launched something, I built something, I get user feedback. You may not necessarily in a point where you can implement that feedback, right? Somebody says, I want social sharing buttons on there. I want user upvoting or ratings on. This is great if I'm in getting user feedback, and then later down the line, I'm sure I have the skills to actually apply my coding skills to that feedback and actually improve the application based on what I'm hearing from my users. And that work in the real world, tech company, startup company. So what's next? We're keeping the learning curve pretty steep. Next, we're going to build a Yelp clone with all of our students. So that means, I think the most important feature that we're going to build there is the integration with the Google Map API. So that means if we have a user, like let's say myself, I'm having a pizza shop, go into the application, I'm typing in my address for my pizza place, right? Street, city, zip code, that kind of stuff. We need to write the code to grab that address, not only stored in the database, but translate it into latitude and longitude coordinates, pass that back to the Google Map API, so we get the little pin on the Google Maps. That's one thing, right? But the other thing we need is obviously to make this a bit more interactive. We need star ratings, right? That's what Yelp has. We need star ratings, and we also need user comments, right? Somebody needs to go to my pizza place, say 5 stars, awesome place, try the mushroom pizza, for example, right? So we want to have that. The next feature that we're building and teaching you how to build on that application is we're going to need something that is a little bit more engaging for users. So one thing that I really like to build is automated email notifications. So if we're thinking about you coming to the application, leaving a comment, me as a pizza owner, I really want to see like, hey, somebody just left a comment, left a rating on your pizza place. Go check it out, maybe reply to it. So the other feature that we're building is a dashboard. That's a simple analytical dashboard where we can actually see how many places I have, what my average rating is, how many comments I've gotten. That's the Yelp clone. We're building that out usually with our students in about 2 to 3 weeks. Next, what we're building is an online learning platform, similar to what Skillshare does or Udemy does, right? So the most important thing when I'm thinking about platform is that we have several different user roles here. So we have instructors on one side and we have students on the other side. What does that mean? That means that we need to track on a database level who's an instructor, who's preparing a course, who's a student, who's consuming a course, and then who is buying which course out of the students from the instructors. So when I say buying, that leads us immediately to the next thing that we need to integrate with, which is a payment API, so we can actually accept credit card payments on our platform, right? That's something that almost every single application needs, is accept credit cards, accept payments. So we're integrating with the Stripe API, so that way you can actually accept payments on your platform. The next thing that we're doing on the Udemy clone, which is besides like video streaming and video uploading for our instructors, is we introduced JavaScript. And we introduce it at the moment when you need it, right? There's one part of the application where it really makes sense to have something that is a little bit better on the user interface than what we're having. And that's where JavaScript and then also jQuery comes in. And the is when an instructor creates a course, they have different sections, right? Maybe lesson 1, 2, 3. And we want them to easily drag and drop the lessons in a different order without having a page refresh. For that, we use JavaScript and an AJAX request to our server, so we don't have to refresh the page. Again, we teach you what the skills at the point when you need it. So you're gonna get that introduction to JavaScript to improve your user experience on your current application. Now, those are the first 3 applications that we're building, and that usually takes students between 6 and 8 weeks of the program. While you're building that, we have a huge focus on actually doing a lot of coding challenges to write really good Ruby code. Now, those coding challenges are really important because they teach the job seekers how to write algorithms, right? We need to be able to solve coding challenges that are increasingly complex by writing really good algorithms, because that's just what's happening in the real world. For the entrepreneurs, that allows you to actually build advanced web applications and not just have forms where users put some content and save it to the database and show it somewhere else, but have a little bit more power under the hood of your web applications. And I give you guys a few examples what some of our students build or currently building to get a flavor for what I mean when I say powerful web applications. Let me do that down the line. If I forget, just send me a message and I'll remember that. Now, after those first 8 weeks, right, when we went through, we built our web applications, we wrote a lot of Ruby code, we also come to a point where we need to do test-driven development, and we have a full module dedicated to that. Test-driven development is basically tests or software tests that automatically test if our application is broken anywhere, if everything is working, right? So that way we can be sure that a user doesn't click a button and nothing happens or the application explodes. Test-driven development is kind of like turning it around a little bit, which means we write the software test first before we build the feature. And then we know that if the test passes, we know that the feature is actually working. It's standard everywhere, every tech company, every startup uses it. And you, as an entrepreneur, should use that same technique as well to make sure that your web application is working properly and no user sees broken pages or broken features. So core feature for us is test-driven development before we split up the course. And that's where kind of the customization comes in. Two groups we have. The entrepreneurs on one side, the job seekers, career switchers on the other one. Let's talk about the career switchers first. So one thing that is really, really important, and I can't overstate how crucial that is to landing a job, is coding together as a team, right? Group projects, teamwork. And what I mean by that is coding collaboratively. So if we zoom out a little bit, in the real world, the best software out there is built by amazing teams. Knowing how to work together as a team is crucial to be part of an amazing team. Without that, it's really hard landing a job. So that's why when we have all the job seekers are going to be put on a group project where they build something that is really complex and complicated. We build right now a chess game. Now, people usually say, Marco, come on, a chess game. That's not exciting. Well, but if you think about it from a coding level and a complexity level, it is really exciting because how many figures are on a chess game? Now, if I just pick one, the king, how do I write the code to validate all the moves of the king? Keep track of them on a database level. Keep track which pieces were kicked out by which other figure, whose player's turn it is. All of that, I need to write code for. And I need to do that as a team. So I need to break all these features into individual coding blocks and make sure we don't step on each other's toe and use the tools using GitHub the way professional developers use that. Knowing how to do that helps our students change the technical interview around 180 degrees. Usually they walk in and they say, hey, here's one piece of code that I wrote, for example, to validate that the queen is moving accordingly, and here's my software test to make sure that all of this is. And that alone is what usually spent an hour explaining line by line what your code does. And that is so impressive because our team as web developers, that's what impresses us, and that impresses hiring managers, and that's why you really want to keep a focus on building complex and advanced web applications. Group projects, crucially important. If you don't have that, it's really going to be hard for you career switchers. So keep that in mind. Now, the other guys, entrepreneurs, right? So if you have an idea, you want to launch, you want to get your own web application out there, we take the last 4 weeks and actually build your own capstone project out. That means we launch your own idea live on the internet, so you have it there. So we basically take the first 8 weeks of the program, all the features you built there, all the skills you learned there, and you get to apply them to your own project where we help you figure out how to launch it the best way. So that starts with wireframing every single screen of your application out, realizing what's important, what maybe can wait for version 2, and then taking those individual features, breaking them into coding steps, and building them one by one, one after another, and launching one feature after another until we have that MVP, that minimum viable product out there live, and you can get the first round of user feedback. So that's the full program, pretty much right there. First 2 weeks, pre-work, the other 12 weeks focusing on really good Ruby code, test-driven development, learning algorithms, building 4 web applications, and then your own application or the group project, depending on what your individual coding goal is. Now let's switch gears. What's the support system? What am I getting here? How do people help me, right? 3 pieces there. We have weekly office hours, we have the one-on-one mentorship sessions, and we have the Q&A forum. And I usually start with talking about the Q&A forum, even though people tell me, come on, Mark, the Q&A forum. That's not, it's just a forum where I ask my question. No, it's crucially important, and it's so important because it is what it enables you to do during the mentorship session. So Q&A forum is simple, right? Thursday night, you're coding, you're having a problem, you can't quite fix it yourself, you're stuck, you're spinning your wheels. Take a screenshot or message, post it in a Q&A forum within an hour or two you get help, and we point you in a direction. And we usually say like something like, hey, on line 37 on your next HTML.erb file, you're missing an equal sign. Put it there, your error message disappears. Hey, restart your server. The simple things that can really trip you up, especially when you're starting out. Now, what that does, because you have access to that around the clock, is that when you come to your mentorship sessions, we don't spend that mentorship session, that time that we have together to troubleshoot your application. That's not what mentorship sessions are for. Your mentorship sessions are for to deep dive into a specific topic. For example, you're writing an algorithm to sort a list. You're traversing a tree. You have a multidimensional array. You don't know how to do that. We take the mentorship sessions to refactor, improve your code that you currently have, and make it professional grade with you and teach you how to do that. Another thing is, you wrote some tests that don't quite work on your own application that you build as an entrepreneur. With the mentor, we can go in and make sure they all can build that additional feature on top of it. Or you want to integrate with an API that you don't know how to use. The mentor can go in and help you with that because you're error-free and you don't have to go through and be like, hey, I'm missing a comma here. Hey, I'm missing a semicolon there, an equal sign there. I have a typo over there. That takes a lot of time. We take care of that in Q&A forum. That enables us to always push you to the next level in each mentorship sessions. And that's also the reason why we get world-class mentors mentoring our students, because that is challenging, that is interesting, that is exciting to them to take somebody under their wing and push you every single session. Now, the other thing we have is the weekly office hours. That's every Wednesday. We have all the students come together in a virtual video conference. Similar to this, we can just see each other. And we go over big coding concepts. How do all the different pieces of a web application fit together, right? What does the model do, controller do, view do? How do databases work? We go over big concepts, but we also live troubleshoot error messages from our students, right? Screen share, everyone gets to watch, and we help them. Here's how a professional web developer would go through that process of troubleshooting your application. That's really cool, because what it does is, if you're ahead of the program and somebody in week 2 or 3 asks a simple question, oftentimes our students volunteer like, hey, can I answer that question? I actually know the solution because I had that same problem 3 weeks ago when I was in that person's shoes. And that really is a great opportunity to teach back and solidify your learning a different way. On the other hand, if you're starting out and you see a question from somebody in week 10, they may be on a group project, right? You're going like, oh wow, this is complicated code. But you kind of know where you go, and you see the path, and you're like, oh wow, this is really inspirational. You also have a chance to ask the other students, get to know them, right? You're gonna work with some of them during the group project, get to know them, build those relationships on a much deeper level than just in a Facebook group or something like that. So you really can get to know the other students during group projects, and I love seeing all our students like helping. So that's a support system. Q&A forum enables you to really use your mentorship sessions, not just for simple troubleshooting, a lot of other programs are doing, but to actually deep dive into topics that matter and are important for you right now. And then the weekly office hours where we bring everyone together. Now, for everyone who's a job seeker, the last 4 weeks, you also have weekly group project meetings where you, again, meet with your group and a dedicated mentor who's your technical lead on that group, and make sure that everything's working properly. So you have that meeting as well in the last 4 weeks. All right, that was a lot. Now, the one question I said I'm going to answer, people usually ask me, so Marco, I get it. Besides launching my own application, besides finding a job as a web developer, what can I really do when the program is over? And my answer is pretty simple. You have an idea for an application. You can go spend the weekend, spend maybe half a week, several days, code it, build it, push it live, share it with your first users, and get their feedback, right? You can create now. That's absolutely something that all of our students are doing, and they keep building interesting projects and cranking them out. All right, that was pretty much the core of that. Now, I already got a bunch of questions. And one thing I promised you guys, I say quickly what kind of stuff our students, the entrepreneurs, are working on, right? The job seekers, they all work on their advanced application. They're building chess games, they're working in a group project. That's what employers want to see. So they're focusing on that. Some of them have some side projects, but there are lots of entrepreneurs in our program too. So for example, one of our students, Jason, he works for Adobe full-time and goes part-time through our program. And he really loves all the quantified self, right? So he has a Fitbit that he wears. one thing he doesn't like is that the Fitbit only gives him the number of steps. So rather than just getting a number like today you did 5,312 steps, which doesn't mean anything, he put up a challenge app where he sets a starting and an end point on a Google Maps. So let's say LA to New York, and he says, every day I want to know how far I walk on that route from LA to New York using my Fitbit. So he queries the Fitbit API, extracts the number of steps, recalculates that into distance, and puts every day the section that you did on the Google Maps, so you can see the progress that you did on your huge hike across the and then he also randomly pulls 3 or 4 images from Google Street View and shows that to you, right? Now, when I say advanced web application, that's something that's fairly complicated because you have to integrate with 2 APIs, pass code back and forth, and do the calculations with some algorithms. That's not a simple application, and that's what he built. Another student, Wei is his name, in London, he's an opera singer. So he built an application that measures if your pitch of your voice is perfect or not. So you sing to the application via your microphone, and it places your pitches on the scale, and you see if you hit your tunes, your notes, right, to actually make that voice recognition working. Again, that's advanced code. He needed to write a bunch of algorithms to make that happen, integrate with several different APIs to make that measurement precise so it actually works, right? So these are some of the examples that our entrepreneurial students are building. So I really love that. That's exciting stuff. That's much better than just, I don't know, like a weather app or like that shows you what weather is out there. That's not interesting. I'm not getting excited by that. I'm also getting excited by like, oh, you can book a travel trip here or something. That doesn't get me excited because that's something I can do with Shopify too. But building advanced applications that do stuff that doesn't exist right now, that's where I really get excited. And I'm really considering getting a Fitbit right now. So because I really want to use that application from one of our students. Okay, guys, question time, right? Hammer me with questions. I'm super happy. The more I get, the better this is going to be. Okay, let's jump in. Let's see if we got somebody already. Okay. Okay. Danny, more about the specific APIs we'd be using or at least be prepared to utilize by the end of the course. Definitely. So APIs, that is basically we're making sure 2 machines can talk to each other. That's when we use an API. So I already mentioned some. Google Map API, Stripe API. We also need to integrate with the SendGrid API, which we use to send automated emails. 3 really important APIs. If you want to integrate with the Fitbit API as an entrepreneur, we teach you how to do that. We also use JavaScript frameworks in our course, so Firebase sometimes we do. It's not quite an API, but something fairly similar along the lines. We do that as well. These are the core ones. Anything else that you want to integrate, something special, we can talk about. Just reach out, just send me an email. But these are the core ones that you're going to learn how to integrate. And they're really important because they touch upon a lot of these different topics that are actually used in a lot of different I guess, applications. Oh yeah, we also have image uploading. So the video streaming, image uploading, all of that too. It's not quite APIs, but we need to make sure that we store our, great question. I hope I could answer it. Okay, what else we have? We jump over here. Here's a good question is, what's the application process? Application process, I said before, right? So we're looking at the pre-work and we're looking at the full course. 2 weeks of pre-work where we make sure you can apply for that. If you fill out your application properly, give us some background on your coding goals, really important to us, and your coding background. We accept you into pre-work, go through. Once you finish all the coding application, the coding challenges, we accept you into the core program, the full 12 weeks. So totally you're getting like a 14-week long program. Great question. What else do we have? How are the materials presented? Oh, that's a great one. So materials are presented several different ways. There's videos and there's live instruction. So let's start with the written materials. So we have our guides, the detailed written instructions, right? They break actually build a feature. They break down coding steps for you. Those are written guides. Why they're written guides? Why they're not videos? There's a really good reason for that. And it's because the first is in the real world, once you're out of the program, and you're a self-sufficient developer, every documentation is always written, be it for open source projects, be it for API documentation. It's written guides. No one ever makes a video for you. So by using our written guides, you're actually learning how to use documentation. Obviously, ours is a lot more detailed, but it helps you go through that real-world process from the very beginning. The second is these guides, the lessons, the individual chapters, are all going to be resources for you later down the line. So if you, like 5 months out, right, you have lifetime access to all of our guides, you realize, hey, how do I again integrate with SendGrid? You can come back there, quick search, you figure out where that line of code is that you need included in the application, and off you go. You'll be going back and forth and going crazy. That doesn't work. Now, we do have videos, but we have videos for the bigger pieces, right? We explain to you object-oriented programming, inheritance, complicated computer science topics. We also have one that explains HTTP requests, how MVC architecture works, how the pieces of a web application fit together. We also have some on test-driven development, right? Explaining that so you understand how the big pieces fit together at the point when you need them. That's really important to us. And then there's obviously live instruction, right? You have office hours, you have the one-on-one mentorship sessions. Great question. Let's see what else we got. Matt asks me, does your program have a job placement percentage or any job placement help after the program is completed, like some of the other boot camps? Great question, Matt. Let's go in that. Okay, so first of all, let's figure out what's your placement rate, right? People ask that a lot. First, for everyone's doing right now the research, we have a guide called the Definitive Guide to Choosing a Coding Bootcamp on our website in the top nav, theFirehoseProject.com. Everyone, please do yourself a favor, read that guide. This is how a professional web developer would conduct the research for a coding bootcamp, the questions they would ask, what they think is important, what matters, what doesn't matter. And one thing that doesn't matter, or that's really like a marketing metric, is that question, unfortunately, that you just asked, Matt. And here's why. And I give you the answer, what the answer is for our coding bootcamp, definitely. But the problem is a lot of people take that metric and they include everything: unpaid work, paid work, internships, part-time work, contracting work for 2 weeks, and they count it as a job to get up to 90–95%. It doesn't matter. The other thing that people are doing is they actually endorse people a few weeks before the program is over, a week before the program is over, and then the hiring rate, they take only of endorsed students, so you never know what the real rate is, and then they make it to 90% as well, 95. You see a lot of top coding bootcamps actually taking that rate down because so many people are fudging that rate. What's our rate? Every single student that wants a job so far got a job, landed a job, and that's the honest truth. Like, that wouldn't work otherwise. That's what we're promising, and now people are getting that. If you have problems with that, and we see that usually in week 2, then we help you in week 2. So in week 12, you're not stranded, not knowing how this works. The same goes with, do we have help finding a job? We start in week 2 preparing you for landing a job. We start that by teaching you how to write algorithms, and those coding challenges, a lot of them that we have, actually real-world coding challenges from places like Yahoo, PayPal, Flickr, Bitly, Techstars companies. They're using that to screen people out, right? And then usually what really helps is the group project, right? One of the questions, one of our students who now has a web developer job in LA at a startup, he was asked, how would you build a chess game during the technical interview process? Well, guess what his answer was? Well, funny you should ask. I just built one together with the team. Here's my code, and you open his computer. Changed the interview process 180 degrees, 360 degrees, and it was like a fun time, fun experience afterwards, because he really showed that he actually can build web applications and write complicated code. It's a good question, but read the definitive guide and really understand what's behind that question, Matt. Cool. What else we got? I got a few more over here. What are some of your graduates doing now? Great question. So I already described some of our graduates, what they're building. Wei is building his opera singing app that measures how good you hit the tunes. The other one is the one with the Fitbit API. The other graduates, like one of our students out in LA, he was a used car salesman, worked on a parking lot. He's working as a full stack developer for a startup. I think the startup is called Sensei It. Other graduates that we have, Erin, she was a receptionist. She now works for Artsy, a company that raised $30 million in funding and maps the genome of every piece of art in the world. So if you know Pandora, they have the Genome Project for music. Artsy does a Genome Project for art. She works on that Genome Project, really cool project, really stoked for her. She was a receptionist beforehand. Other ones is like Steven out in Sacramento, he's an entrepreneur as well. He built an on-demand medical marijuana delivery app, so similar to Uber, right? You type in your destination, you say what you want, you see the car coming on your map, you walk downstairs, you grab your little bag, you get payments already handled. He got over 100 paying users, repeated paying users in his first month after he launched. So that's what some of our students are doing. We're super proud of our students, and they're doing amazing things. Let's see. Here. I don't know if that via email. Oh, so Danny has a whole bunch of questions. Do entrepreneurs learn GitHub too? Yes, you use Git and GitHub on day one, right? That's what we need to do. Version control and backing up your code, and then collaboratively coding on GitHub is something that entrepreneurs do as well. If you want, I usually suggest to every entrepreneur, join a group project, maybe just for a week. Make one code addition to the group project and learn how to work with other people. Because if you're an entrepreneur, what's really important is you need to hire people if your app takes off to code together with you. If you don't know how to integrate with other people and code as a team, you're gonna have a hard time making that happen at the very, the first 2 weeks, right when you actually need the most help. You don't know how to work together, and that's going to cause you a lot of pain. So I usually suggest to every entrepreneur, join a group project just for a small time and see how that process works, and at least learn it a little bit. Don't do the deep dive, focus on launching your own application, but that's really important. What hours is help available via forum and mentorship? So mentorship sessions are usually in the evening. They're also throughout the day, so we have mentors all over the US. Can talk about who those mentors are in a little bit as well. So forum hours are usually, I say, like anything from early morning, late evening, right? If you're based in Japan or in Asia, well, you have to wait a little bit, right? We usually staff it from, I'd say, like 9 in the morning to about 9 p.m. So for about 12 hours. If you code in the middle of the night, put it in there, go to sleep, you have your answer in the morning. Okay, what's the format of the basic lessons? I already explained that. Do you pull lessons from other sources online? No, it's all original design. During the pre-work, we pull in, currently still, we're working on this, so in like, say a week, we have our pre-work is completely original design, like our own guides. Right now, resources. In the full program, it's 95% our own material, our guides that we've written and refined over and over again because hundreds of students gone through. That 5% of outside material is things like, I just want to say that because we have some guides where I say like, hey, here's documentation for some open source code, read this. Or for some algorithm, read this chapter of this book. You will still be able to learn how to do the algorithm, but that's additional for you to learn how to do something better. So there's like 5% about on that, but the vast majority, like as I said, 95% or more is our own content. Do we touch on social sign-up, sign-in? Yeah, that's something pretty straightforward. User registration, we can do that really quickly. That's something you'll learn in week 2. User sign-up, login, log-out, registration, then making that a social sign-up is what you can build then afterwards. That's not something challenging. There's plenty of good resources out there. And that, if that's your own application, or we can do that in like 15, 20 minutes in a mentorship session. How big are cohorts? Are there specific groups? So we start new students every Monday. It doesn't matter how many students start every Monday, right? So in office hours, everyone's together from week 1 all the way to week 12. And that's what really helps you out because you get feedback from people who are further along, and when you see students who are just starting, you actually get to help them out. So I guess how big are the cohorts always depends how many students we start every Monday. I hope, Danny, that answered your questions. Let's see if there's some more. What else do we have? I'm just going through my email right now. Okay, cool. I think I got all of them here. All right, guys, ask me more questions. If there are some more, put them in that room. I have a few more that I'm going through. Oh, okay. There's some more. Awesome. Great, Matt. I'm glad I could help you. And everyone, again, read the definitive guide to figure out what really matters for coding bootcamp. And also, Lisa, that goes the same. Like, how does this online coding bootcamp, how does this compare to an in-person coding bootcamp? You can read that in depth in the definitive guide, the difference between the two, the advantages and the disadvantages. Shortly, I say the biggest difference is in an in-person coding bootcamp, you compete for attention for the instructor. There's 20 other students with you. They all want attention from one instructor, right? And then you have, versus an online coding bootcamp, you have that one-on-one relationship where it's your mentor, and that mentor only cares about you. So when you're together with the mentor, that mentor helps you and no one else. And that is really the key to accelerating. And that's why we're seeing such great results, because you have that apprenticeship relationship with one senior web developer, just like in the real world. Diego, great question. How much time is typically required on a daily basis? Can people hold on to a full-time job during the bootcamp? Absolutely, you can have a full-time job, do that part-time. Here's the 2 times that I usually give people. So if you want to do it full-time, you can. There's several students that go through full-time. We have additional materials that we give them, or we challenge them more throughout the mentorship sessions. But you spend, if you want to switch careers, I'd say dedicate 20 hours per week. You know, do that in the evenings, do that over the weekends. That's fine. If you want to be sure, be on a 25 hours per week. If you're an entrepreneur, I would say the same, maybe 15. We don't need to go as deep into algorithms and a technical interview preparation with you. We can focus more on your own application. And usually what happens, as soon as you see your own application starting to take shape and become get live, get closer to being live, you get really fired up and you put in more time every single week. But what's important is that consistency, that you try to do that, hit that number every single week. Because what's going to happen is after, we usually see it around between week 4 and 6, you hit that point, we call it the inflection point, where you become a self-sufficient developer. And that means all of a sudden, these doors are opening for you and you understand, oh, that's how APIs work. Oh, that's how open source works. Oh, that's how I integrate this piece of code, this JavaScript piece into my application to make it work. You become a self-sufficient developer. Once you hit that point, that inflection point, your skills are going to skyrocket. You want to hit that point as quickly and as early as possible. Because at that point, your learning becomes exponential and you learn so much faster than somebody who hasn't hit that point. The sooner you hit that point, the better off you are. So, but again, Diego, looking about the 20 hours per week. So definitely doable during your part-time job. Cool, awesome. Let's see if we have something else. Lisa already answered you. I might have one more question in my email, so check out that. Guys, I really like it. Okay, there's another one from Danny. Let's see. Okay, very helpful. Thanks. Awesome. Glad I could hit them all. Oh, so here's another one that I just got. What's the difference between you and some of these other online coding bootcamps? That's a great one. I'll spend a few minute or two on that, just so you guys get a better understanding. Okay, us and other competitors, right? Who's out there? You have Blog, T-Leaf, Thinkful, all these guys. What's the biggest difference? I'd say 2 things, or maybe 3 things. 2 things, 2, 3 things. First, the depth of the curriculum, right? So we go into algorithms. We're focusing on test-driven development. We're building fully functional real-world web applications that are complicated. Our graduates building things like Fitbit API integrations. Our graduates building voice recognition applications. They could not do that if we wouldn't teach them how to write really good Ruby code. Our graduates that are actually working on the to get a job, right? They're getting that because, again, the depth of the curriculum, the quality of the curriculum teaches them how to impress hiring managers by the sole quality of their code. And also, that's number 2, we have the group project. which really teaches you how to work together as a team and be an impactful employee on day one at the job. And you really want to be that, because without that, you don't have that competitive edge and you're going to be sorted out. Having that, it really matters to technical hiring managers that you can work on a team, right? You're going to get that question, when was the last time that you overcome something difficult? If you worked on a group project, every single day is difficult because you have to communicate with other people. You step on each other's toes. Things go wrong because you didn't communicate properly. You have to fix other people's code. You have to refactor other people's code. You get code reviews, you get critique, you give critique. That's the real world of web development. Knowing how to do that, and you have that in a place on GitHub, publicly available, where everyone can see it, that's what makes you a great candidate for a job. Key thing, right? Depth of the curriculum, all the algorithms, test-driven development, all the group projects that we're having. So really like the other programs, get you maybe to 50 miles an hour, we get you to 120 miles an hour. Can't quite compare that, but it's like a lot more in depth and a lot more advanced than what I'm seeing out there. Seeing that from other students that were at other programs and they're now with us and quit other programs and came to us. So that's the biggest difference. And the last one is the quality of the mentors, right? Who are our mentors? Those are senior developers with experience at places like PayPal, Flickr, Bitly, eBay, Product Hunt, right? Big universities, they're working in the educational sector, right? That's the quality that you're getting. One of our mentors grew Flickr from 1 million users to 60 million users as the head of product, right? Our students don't even know that that's that person. That guy gets TechCrunch articles written just about him. I'm not going to mention names, but he's amazing, right? That's the quality that we're looking for in our mentors, and that's what we're getting. 3 points again: depth of curriculum, group projects, and quality of mentors. I don't think you get anything better anywhere else. And I'm completely honest about that. That's what we set up building the Firehouse project. Okay, great. Let's see, do we have anything else here? Let me check in if I get another email. If not, then we can wrap this up pretty quick. Yeah, I think I don't have any more questions from you guys. So that was awesome. Thanks so much for coming, everyone. I had a lot of fun. Thumbs up. Stay awesome. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you have any questions, let me know. Shoot me an email. I'm excited to see your applications for the pre-work. I share that link with you. Make sure you read the definitive guide to choosing a coding bootcamp. And I'll also share another resource with you. Hope to code with you guys soon in the pre-work and getting you guys excited of launching your own splash page and working on your first Ruby scripts. And then we hopefully can accept you into the full 12-week program. That was a lot of fun. Take it easy. Talk to you soon, guys.